Okay, this is very, very bad. It's happening. But before we get into all the doom and gloom, happy 4th of July to all of my US subscribers. Congratulations on breaking away from British rule, taxation without representation, I think you say over there, back in 1776. Although, let's take a walk here, let's start walking. Although, wasn't it 1783 before you finally got your freedom? And that's interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about freedom today as we walk around this reservoir, which I'm guessing as usual we won't see a soul. It's the bizarre thing, you know, to live on an island where you can walk in the most beautiful places. Gosh, the wind, the wind here, and not see anybody for miles and miles. And quick announcement, if you look below in the description here, you're going to see something that I think you'll like. So all of my $2,000 each finance courses, including macro, stock market, wealth psychology, and the new program, the Rapid Cash Flow Blueprint, how to make a lot of money every month, are on sale right now. No, there's no catch or anything like that. Someone asked me, what's the catch? There's no catch. Have a look and you will see there's 90% off the programs right now. Okay, now I want to get into what the ECB, the European Central Bank, has just said, because it is so shocking actually what they've said that I honestly can't believe it. But one other quick point actually, on the 4th of July, I was just watching a couple of videos and some of these statistics, and I want to link this to the debate that happened between Trump and Biden as well, because I don't know if you noticed this or picked this up, because I think most people missed it, but one of the questions that the CNN interviewers asked Biden was, they said it like this was a fact, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, Biden, you know, President Biden, under your presidency, food inflation, or it might have been inflation, has been 20%. You know, what do you tell the American citizens or whatever? And that's, firstly, that's a leading question, but it's not true. Food inflation has not been 20% under his presidency. It's way, way above that in the last 4 years. And this is how they do all this programming, by the way, on the TV. Gosh, what is going on with this wind? This is the funny thing about the Isle of Man. It's bright and sunny, and then the next minute it's blowing. You know, you feel like you're going to get thrown into the lake here, or the reservoir. It's that windy. But yeah, they said it's been 20% food inflation. Nonsense. And in fact, you've probably seen, I did a few videos as well where I took my receipts from years ago and I actually went to the supermarket and I picked those exact same items and showed you what the inflation was. I mean, you saw sort of 20% in one single year, let alone in 4 years. And there's this viral video going around, which is pretty cool to watch. And it was this American guy. And what he did was he went to his Walmart basket where you can reorder the item. So this was from 2 years ago. Hold on, I've got the exact numbers here. Okay, so it was $126.67 2 years ago. He clicked reorder all, which apparently you can do on Walmart, and it went to $414.39. That is a 350% increase. What on earth is going on here? Where is this wind coming from? That's the funny thing with these videos. You know, it's beautiful and sunny. I can plan for the best. And then, I mean, look at the water here. This shows you the wind is blowing a gale. But it's also another thing that's happening today on the 4th of July is the Brits are going to the polls. So the British are going to the polls today. According to the media, it's going to be a Labour landslide. That's one of the political parties. And then it's going to be Conservatives next. Then they said Lib Dem, then they said the Greens. It's so funny how they never mention reform, which I think is probably going to get, and I'm just guessing here, maybe 20% of the total vote. That's what I would guess, but it could be more than that. I don't know. It could be more. But there was one really weird thing that happened, and I've got to tell you about this because it's it's disappointing that we keep seeing all these politically motivated incidents take place. So I'm going to read this out as well. This is from a media outlet called Voice of Wales, an asylum charity who owned a house for asylum seekers / economic migrants, made a complaint against the man who owns, by the way, I added the / there, made a complaint against a man who owned the house next door because he put up a sign that said vote reform. The police visited the man and said that it could be deemed offensive or intimidating to his neighbors, and they wanted to speak to him just to understand who he was. What? What on earth is that all about? And remember on my video from the other day, I told you something that really shocked and surprised me was that people who are not British citizens are being permitted to vote in this election. Yes, 100% true. You can catch that on one of my videos from this week. So people that aren't from the UK, they are allowed to vote in this election. I just can't believe it. It is a really, really upside down world now where people can be in another country, they're not citizens of that country, and they can vote as to what happens in that country. That makes no sense whatsoever. But let me get on to the ECB stuff now then. This is just wild. Hold on. ECB policymakers are viewing the French election, so this was at their meeting they just held, as a sign of a broader shift in a more populist, protectionist and turbulent direction. They've also warned that risks include trade tensions and high government debt, but their biggest concern, the number one concern they have, is the victory of Le Pen's extreme far-right Eurosceptic party. I mean, they keep adding words to this. What they should just say is Le Pen's party, but no, they have to add extreme far-right Eurosceptic. Like, they're just going to keep adding words. I'm surprised they didn't say racist and bigoted and all this other sort of stuff in this as well. Now, the other thing they said, which is really surprising, and this is where we have the freedom issues as well. The ECB governing council members told the Financial Times that it was too early to speculate about whether they could be forced to intervene in a Le Pen France. Huh? Why would they intervene in a democratic election held fairly by the people who voted for that? Forget about the politics right now, whether you like them or not. It's a democratic election voted for by the people. Why would the ECB and all these other three-letter organizations, why would they be getting involved in these policies? That is undemocratic. But actually, if you think about it, all of these three-letter organizations are undemocratic anyway. ECB, even the EU, you have the WHO, WEF, World Economic Forum, all of these groups, NATO and everyone else, these are not elected officials. People seem to forget this. They haven't been elected. There hasn't been a vote by the people to elect these leaders in the first place. So they dictate all of these policies, and then they get upset when things don't go the way they want them to. But they had a lot to say about Le Pen, and they said that this is very dangerous, what's happening, and they likened it to the late 1930s, early 1940s. Now, I think it was more of a throwaway comment, but if you actually think about what they're saying there, they're talking about what happened, I believe this is what they're saying, with the rise of Hitler. So this is the extreme sort of language that they're using when things don't go their way. And then they say, oh, well, we might have to intervene. Now that's a little bit worrying, because are they saying there that they would intervene with the economy alone? Financially, they would intervene there, or are they saying they would intervene with Le Pen and her political party? That's what we're not quite clear about just yet. Now, another thing that's just come out over the last few days is these shock economic recordings that have come out. I don't think most people were prepared for a lot of this stuff that's been announced. So it's a US and it's a UK economic slowdown. US services shrunk for the first time since 2020. That's according to the ISM. And actually the PMI headline index fell to 48.8, which is recessionary in nature, by the way, from 53.8 in May. So this is a huge drop. So typically they say if you go below 50, this is an indication of a recession. But you'd never know that from what all of these newscasters have been saying. In fact, that's what Jerome Powell was just saying. He was saying how strong the US economy is. Really, if it's that strong, why haven't they dropped the interest rates yet? That is the question you should all be asking. If it's that strong, why haven't they followed the ECB, and why haven't they dropped these rates? But it's not just over in the US. The UK, the same sort of services sector, has just shown a massive decline. Here's the statistics then. They've actually called it a seize up in the UK sectors. They said this includes transport, IT, finance, communications, property, and business services all slowed in the last 7 months to June. They're also saying that America has a freight recession, which shows no signs of ending. But the most ridiculous article I saw around all of this was about mortgage rates being 7%. Now, you remember what they said about this? Oh, don't worry, it's going to come down. These rates are going to come down. Don't worry, you can refinance later and all this other stuff. But now they've had to do a U-turn and flip this around. So instead of saying, oh, don't worry, they're saying, hey, this is good for you. It's good for you that rates are at 7%. And I'll read this out, hold on. They said it's good for home buyers and remortgaging because it means that the economy is strong and there will be more jobs. Huh? That's nonsense. Unemployment is rising. It's rising in the US. So you've got rising unemployment. You've got interest rates that are stuck. You've got a service sector that's declining. You've got all of these other economic indicators. You've got mass migration going across the border. You've got jobs that are getting harder to get because wages are falling. You look at wages and they are falling in the US, even though the statistics show that they are increasing. And yet they keep telling all of the young people, so if you're a young person watching, they keep saying to you, go to university, get this degree, and you can get this job. I think everyone taking my new program at the moment are kind of starting to realize, or at least you will with the next modules coming out. By the way, module 4 comes out this weekend, so you can watch that. But I think people are going to start realizing that they're being sold a pipe dream that isn't going to exist in this new era of AI, artificial intelligence. Because it is going to take a lot of these jobs that people are going to university for right now. But of course, the universities don't tell you this because it is a business model. The government has allowed universities to become huge conglomerates within themselves. It's a business model for them. So if they were honest, they'd say, hey, I know you're about to start this 4-year course, but at the end of it, the job probably isn't going to be there because AI will have taken part of this job, and then you're going to have to upskill into this in order to then be able to do the job alongside AI. They don't want to say any of this stuff. Oh, and if you are a young person, by the way, do yourself a massive favor here this year. Don't get your parents to buy you the latest, I don't know, whatever, shirt, sneakers, whatever you guys buy these days. Instead, get them to buy you the latest program. Learn to actually make money. Goodness me. I know the US economy is driven by consumer spending, but it is not getting people anywhere. It really isn't. And if the US ever loses the reserve currency status of the dollar, good luck, really, good luck. And I was just reading some of the crime statistics on the US now and what's happened since the whole defund the police movement and everything else. Some of these cities, gosh, if you live in these cities, please move somewhere else because this is so dangerous now, really. In fact, this article talks about how in certain areas of the US, and when I read this article, I thought, are they just, is this just an alarmist article? It says 50% of the time the police aren't able to show up, and it's talking about some really serious crimes here, from shootings to assaults on women, shall we say, all sorts of these very serious crimes. And it says that 50% of the time that the police don't show up. Now, I had to read into the data a little bit more there because I thought that doesn't sound right for such a serious crime. But if some of this data is correct, and they probably cherry picked it from the worst cities here, then it is a bit worrying that the police are not able to show up because they're understaffed. They haven't got enough resources to deal with just how serious this problem is now. But it's been a while since I've sort of talked about the weird and wacky stories. So let's finish with a couple of weird ones. There's a company now, hold on, let me tell you what it's called. In fact, it doesn't say what the company's name is, but the New Scientist shared a video of an experimental robot face made from living human skin cells. It's proper weird if you follow any of this stuff. So now they've got these robots, what we talk about a lot as synthetics, which are being built very quickly. And it's funny because I remember when we talked about this about 3 or 4 years ago, I said these Atlas robots will very quickly be developed into military robots. And I still think we're going to be there by around 2030 sort of time period, as well as the dogs and the other stuff. I think we're going to be there. I'm still going to stick to that timeline. I think it's going to be about 2030 when we get to that point. But either way, all this stuff is really weird. So we've got these synthetics, we've got the robots, we've got the AI. They're going to, well, they've already started to join together now. So you're seeing the AI running some of the robots now. We've got human skin cells, human living skin being put on these robots, these synthetics. We've even got, this was a crazy one as well. We've even got certain computer companies testing out brain computers. This is really, really wild. So they've been using brain cells. Now, obviously this is on a tiny, tiny scale. They said they're using these brain cells. You're going to have to read the article for yourself because it's above my kind of expertise in computer science. But they're running it on brain cells. And eventually they said they could run supercomputers more powerful than anything we've ever seen in our lifetime off of one human brain in the future. This stuff is proper weird. What on earth are we? We're like living in a Black Mirror show now, aren't we? Oh boy. Hey, what a world we live in now. But look at this. Isn't this lovely? Just nice and peaceful and quiet. We've got all the birds here. Not a soul in sight. So I'm going to continue my walk now then. I am posting as many videos as I possibly can at the moment for you. I'm aiming for 6 days a week, just resting on Sunday, of course. But yeah, just a reminder to grab the courses linked below in the pinned comment or the description. It's not just a new course that's on sale. I've put all the courses on sale for you. And there are bundles as well below, so if that's of interest to you. Okay, well, thanks for watching today. Take care. God bless you. God bless your family. And I will see you on the next video.